conflict. Be not fearful of
So I would say that Sheela is a being that's been with our cultures in these islands for hundreds, thousands of years. In medieval times, she was put into churches, and Catholic priests wanted her, and probably she was needed by the church to lure the ordinary common people inside the church in the process of Christianization. So she marks this division, or this radical, no, it's not radical, it's this maybe unfortunate luring of people away from the land. And Sheela was very important to the women particularly, because she was to do with birthing, and that's why she's found with this emphasis on her cunt, or the academics call it the pudenda, or there are many words, the vulva, this part where life begins and where birthing takes place, and where the feminine feels most unprotected at times, especially of giving birth. And they need a deity or a symbol of empowerment
and the biggest miracle of life.
The deepest and most wonderful miracle, yeah. And of course a great source of pleasure. So the common people were lured into Christian churches, probably against their very
nature,
deep instincts, but they needed to make contact with Sheela's. So the reason that we know so much about her is because she survived in courtesy of the churches and the monasteries. And of course she would be ordered to be put in place by men who had no way of communicating with women about birth, because they were supposed to be living celibately, so they wouldn't know a great deal about the physical feminine. And she is there opening her legs and showing her deepest femininity to encourage and support and possibly commune, the true meaning of commune.
To fertility?
Yeah, to the women who must bring through the next generation, who must surrender to the burden of being female and mothers, and then on to being grandmothers and so on, and which they are the people that we need to thank and honour, because we're here through their brave courage, and very often they went through great pain, or they may have lost their lives, and each woman would know that she was in danger when she went into birthing of losing her life or the child's life. And so she needed that source of strength.
How did it survive in the church? Where can you see it?
Many medieval churches in Ireland, particularly, that's where she particularly survived. This one is on the borders of Wales, Kilpeck. So not that far from where we are now. It's Shropshire, Wales, Kilpeck, and you can find books on Sheela, and I can write down the name of some books that will guide you to finding her. But she's been very hidden by the church. She's been very hidden by museums, who now understand what a significant contribution she's made in linking the unlettered people, the people who had no way of talking to us because they couldn't write. And so very little has survived of what they knew. But the Sheela is one of the symbols of where they were needing to communicate with future generations. She's very much about the ancestors, because she's almost always an old woman. She's a crone, and she's speaking through the mothers who are about to give birth, and she herself is probably from the other side of the grave. So she's coming through with her wisdom as an elder and carrying that information and that reverence for life.
And where in the church in Wales you said that you can find her?
She's mostly in Ireland.
But I mean, where? As a plate or as a wall drawing or what?
She is usually sculpted into stone in relief. So someone has taken a piece of stone, and almost always it's seen that they were not that skillful. They were not highly trained people, so they were ordinary people who wanted to. Probably men would be doing that. So she was there as a communication or a communion from the ordinary people who lived the most common ordinary lives. And she was, wherever she was placed, women would particularly come to her, but I'm sure the men did, in asking her for assistance and guidance.
That's sort of a symbol of love and access and sharing of,
yes,
and openness.
Yeah,
and, and the next generation and the previous.
Yeah, and then
the miracle of life formula.
Absolutely. And then later on, hundreds of years later, the church rather turned against her, and so messages, we've got written messages from Rome saying to the priests in Ireland or wherever the Sheela was available to the people that she must be suppressed and that people must be discouraged from believing in her. Because
Which time was it still that she was in power here?
Well, we know that she goes back to pagan times.
That's before Christ?
Before Christ, yeah, that's right. So she has her roots in pre-Christian. She was brought into the churches a few hundred years after Christianity had arrived. And there was a period when many of them these Sheelas were put into churches, built into the churches. These Sheelas may well have been quite old themselves already. They may not have been made to go into the church. They may have been taken from other places. And they were put into the walls of monasteries and castles and churches. And then later on, hundreds of years later, there was more and more directives coming from Rome to say that the people's attachment to the Sheela Nagig must be scotched. They needed to end, that the priests needed to move against the Sheela Nagig. But we know that the Irish priests who were still connected to the Celtic, so the Celtic Christianity, that they revered her also, and that's partly why she was allowed to be in the churches. And then as Rome became more and more powerful and moved against anything that had roots in the pagan, the Roman Catholic priests would move against that aspect of the feminine and the divine feminine, because they felt very threatened. I guess they felt very threatened.
So, can you remind again which church people can still find it?
There's one called Kilpeck, and I have one book with me which I can show you while we're here at the festival, and I'll give you the name of other books.
Yeah, so that, great. You feel like a reincarnation of Sheela Nagig.
Well,
she must be your role model.
I feel she's calling me. Yeah, I've known about her for a long time, but recently I felt I have kind of the Sheela Nagig energy within me, and it's I've been doing at quite a few festivals a presentation of the Sheela, and I actually have a big Sheela, but I don't have her here. I couldn't get it here.
You are beautiful. You're so beautiful, Raga.
Oh, Dita.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, let me just show you this pattern here. Just look at that pattern.
Show it again. This is common pattern of pagans.
Yeah, but it's a traditional pattern of the vulva or the cunt.
Oh, is it?
Yes, this triangular pattern.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
And there you can see the clitoris there. And,
which one?
We find it.
Which bit?
This one particularly.
Okay. Yeah. Why not?
We find them all over the world from all cultures. So this one has come from the Mapuche in Chile, who fought so bravely against the conquistadors in Chile, and they were pushed further away from Santiago, where the seat of power is. But they're still there, and they're still weaving their beautiful.
Thank you, Raga. This is beautiful.
Yeah. He made this. And I met him in the streets with a pile of these ponchos in the street in Temuco in Chile.
Thank you, Raga.